I'm done being nice to Ethan. I gave it a chance. My sincerity and my empathy in that last video was real.
Trust me, iDubbbz, we know you're empathetic. You included a clip of you crying in the content cop to make sure that everyone knew that you were incredibly empathetic towards Ethan Klein. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and everything else in between, we've got a lot to cover a day, including a content deputy on H3H3, and also we've got Hasan and H3 debate clips to do with iDubbbz that I also want to go over. Although the Hasan and H3 debate came first, I think it makes more sense to go over the content deputy before the debate, so without further ado, let's jump straight into this.
And Hila are well aware that we raised $1.3 million for charity the first year of Creator Clash. The second year we operated at a loss, and I take full responsibility for that. We did band together, the community and the fighters involved ended up raising $175,000 for charity.
And iDubbbz, no one's disputing that that's a good thing that you did. You went on livestream and you raised a shit ton of money for charity. But Creator Clash 2, the charity event, didn't make any money for charity, and regardless of any live streams that you do after to try and make up for that, the charity event still didn't make any money for said charity. And as many people, content creators, and myself have gone over profusely, you have done lots of stuff that's criticizable in regards to Creator Clash 2 and now Creator Clash 3. So yeah, people are going to criticize you for this, including H3, especially when you drop a content cop on the guy.
It's been really disheartening to see how often Ethan will attack Creator Clash through us, or attack us through Creator Clash.
Ian and Anissa, masters of putting on an event.
He's reposting random troll accounts that are very easy to vet. If you click on this profile, it has a bunch of Sam Hyde adjacent posts, and it just hates Anissa and I.
H3 can openly criticize Creator Clash as much as he likes. It's a charity event that failed to make any money for charity its second go around and has had a shit ton of issues its third go around. That is a open thing to criticize. It's a good thing to criticize here because a charity event should be making money for charity. This is pretty self-explanatory.
Come on, dude, you're one step away from calling me a cuck. Just take the plunge. He's highlighting this post that equates Creator Clash to a crypto rug pull.
I mean, yeah, Creator Clash 2 was meant to be a charity event. Its whole incentive was we're going to be making money for charity, which it then failed to do because it spent a ridiculous amount of money on loads of other things like food, like talent being there, instead of actual charity. It failed to make money for charity. So yeah, I think it's a pretty understandable comparison. iDubbbz says that the failure of Creator Clash 2 is his responsibility, but he clearly just doesn't understand why people are angry, why people are criticizing Creator Clash 2, or how big of a failure it was, or what people are trying to say about it.
He's saying the event is going to be worse than TanaCon. Can't wait for them to blame us for their failed event. Don't worry, Hila, I'm not going to blame you guys for anything Creator Clash related. I know you're terrified of taking accountability for anything, so that will rest solely on my shoulders.
Because yes, it wouldn't be their fault, so it'd be weird for them to take any accountability for something that would be clearly you and Anissa's fault. You dropped a content cop before Creator Clash 3, which clearly caused a lot of backlash, caused controversy, which has meant that fighters have dropped out of your event. Everything that's happened to Creator Clash 3 up until this point and beyond is all down to you, iDubbbz.
But I can't speak for the internet. The internet might actually blame you guys for it. Now, with this recent revelation that people are just going to use Creator Clash to attack Anissa and I, Anissa and I have decided to step away from Creator Clash. We have relinquished control to our business partners who ran the previous two events.
iDubbbz and Anissa have left the sinking ship. They know that Creator Clash 3 is on the way down and it can't be saved. They've just washed their hands of the event completely.
They're very capable. They know exactly what they're doing. They run events on a regular basis. The event is still happening. Anissa and I just don't have any financial ties. We don't have any ownership. We are, I think just going to be known as the founders of the event. Yeah, I mean, I think it had to come to this eventually. I can't keep my mouth shut. I can't, I can. I just didn't want to.
This kind of confirms to me that iDubbbz just didn't give a flying fuck about the ramifications that this content cop and any of his actions would have on Creator Clash 3. Because if he wanted to drop the content cop on his former friend, he could have at least waited until after the Creator Clash. Because it was already having issues beforehand, but this made it 10 times worse and has caused fighters to leave the event. And then in response to it falling apart and Creator Clash 3 having immense backlash, Anissa and iDubbbz have just simply washed their hands of it. And by doing this, I'd be heavily surprised if this actually saved Creator Clash 3, because it's just way too late for that.
I want to be frank. I want to be honest. I was very quiet during the second creator clash because I was afraid of how that would impact other people. This year I said I'm going to do something different. I'm going to
drop a content cop on one of my friends and preemptively destroy my Creator Clash 3 boxing event.
Now, I don't want to talk about Hasan's sword. I don't want to talk about Hasan's sword hilt because Ethan himself basically admitted already multiple times he doesn't think any of us did that intentionally.
Okay, but H3 simply changed his mind on this after seeing other factors, other pieces of evidence, and clips of Hasan, which made him feel like this was done intentionally.
I picked up a random sword in Hasan's room that was laying around. That could be the end of the discussion. You don't actually need to debate Hasan about the sword hilt.
He left it up.
Decision-making
If it was a mistake, he could have deleted it.
But I'm not going to delete the photo because that would be indulging in your weird anti-Semitic fantasies.
iDubbbz, if you didn't do this intentionally like you're saying, there is no reason to then bring up another claim and another excuse to back up why you're not going to be deleting this. If you didn't do it intentionally, then why would you delete the post in the first place? Why would you even argue that? Just move on. I don't know why you're focusing on this point so much. It makes you look worse.
I'm done being nice to Ethan. I gave it a chance. My sincerity and my empathy in that last video was real.
I'm sorry, iDubbbz, I forgot your definition of being nice to your former friend was by dropping a content cop on him, going against your word entirely, cutting things out of context, being incredibly disingenuous, not explaining very important details from the clips you're pulling, like the CPS call, and then, you know, saying that you're empathetic by including a clip of yourself crying in the content cop. I forgot that was your definition of being nice to somebody who was meant to be your friend.
Pointing to something else that could be affecting you. He even brought up the clip of me saying, if you get help. We all need help. Everyone on this planet needs help. I don't care how you get it. You can wander into the jungle and go on an ayahuasca trip. I don't care how you get your help or what you define as help. But if it helps you, that would be good, because right now it doesn't seem like you're getting much help.
I find it very funny, the people that are the Hasan orbiters, the people that are more on the Hasan side and avidly against H3 have this whole narrative that he's mentally unwell, that maybe he's even doing drugs, that he's doing all of this, something that even Anissa has fed into herself. And all these things are pretty outrageous. H3H3 feels the way he does for very certain reasons. It doesn't mean that he's mentally unwell. He's clearly not on drugs, and to say that is disgusting, because that is referring to, and the way he acts, is because of his Tourette's. So, you know, a lot of people are spinning very disingenuous narratives and just trying to push things onto H3 that just simply aren't true or aren't needed within this situation.
The main criticism that I was seeing online with my video from Ethan and Hila is that I didn't mention the CPS call.
Yes, an overall incredibly important point to make against a content cop, because without the CPS call context, none of the clips that iDubbbz shows makes any sense, and you can spin a completely disingenuous narrative without that said context. Which iDubbbz did in fact do. Without the context of the CPS stuff and everything that comes with it, the clips that iDubbbz was showing and everything around the situation makes no sense.
I wonder why I wouldn't mention the CPS call. Could it be that the CPS call happened the same day that you were shit-talking me, and I didn't have any chance to defend myself? You just immediately, in the same podcast, right next to each other, said, CPS call was very traumatic, and then you said, fuck Ian and Anissa, and you linked those together?
So just because he shat on you or had something to say against you, you're not going to cover an integral part of the story that you are covering on your channel, which boosted a completely disingenuous narrative against H3. That makes no sense and is an active mark against you.
You kind of layered those flavors, and then Anissa and I got a bunch of harassment. We had nothing to do with the CPS call. What are all these fucking comments on your Reddit saying, like, it happened because of the CPS call?
People are talking about the CPS call not because you caused it or you had a direct influence on it, but because they are integral to the clips that you showed out of context, even if it was from the same podcast. I genuinely refuse to believe that iDubbbz is this unintelligent and naive about all of this.
Of course, Ethan, having made so many enemies over the years, other people react to his content. And when other people see that he's talking about his children getting giardia from dog poop.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
People are quite reasonably concerned.
Yes, you are hearing this right. iDubbbz is currently justifying the CPS call and trying to work out a narrative that makes the CPS call seem acceptable.
And so, yes, anyone who's seeing that content might be concerned enough to call CPS, including Ethan's own chat, which, by the way, is not a measly number. It's about 26,000 at the time of this stream.
All the examples he is showing on screen of Ethan's chat, maybe quote-unquote expressing concern over this, are all people joking around about the situation at hand that Ethan is talking about. None of these people are genuinely raising any concern or saying, okay, we should call CPS. It is crazy to me that the hill iDubbbz is dying on is the one where he is justifying this CPS call.
Yeah. They're calling it the poop house. Now, what Ethan does, instead of taking any responsibility for sharing too much on his live stream, is that he decides to attack specific creators like Denims and say she was the source of the CPS.
Saying that it is somehow his fault and that he needs to take some type of accountability here is just mind-blowingly stupid. This is all in relation to Ethan Klein apparently oversharing, the similar thing that iDubbbz also does on his podcast, where him and Anissa, you know, often overshare. I don't know how iDubbbz has managed to go from one feed to the next by, you know, in the original content cop not even mentioning the CPS call to now trying to justify it. I mean, Ethan Klein's reaction and response to this bit especially is going to be insane, and all the pushback that iDubbbz is getting and will be getting from it is 100% deserved.
Ethan acts like we're such great friends and that like he shared such intimate moments with me, but it's all horseshit. He's lying. Like the whole thing is a fucking lie. He's manipulating his audience. We did not have a close relationship.
I find this very funny that iDubbbz is using this point and saying this when he himself has used the friendship tactic to score points against Ethan.
You might think that all of the harassment you're getting has everything to do with your politics and your idea of Israel-Palestine, but a lot of my gripes were centered around you dragging me into your shit. You know, you knew that you were going through a lot and you were saying, I'm hurting, I'm now going to make them hurt because they're not putting their head on the chopping block.
Again, this is another great example of iDubbbz being incredibly disingenuous and representing the situation incredibly disingenuously.
I'm sure there's anti-Semitic people that are attacking you guys, but they're not me, they're not Anissa. It's not Hasan, it's not all of these other creators that you're attacking. You're not the biggest victim on the internet, Ethan. Other people can experience a horrible fucking time.
This point can play out several times. Yeah, just because other people on the internet are experiencing horrible things doesn't mean that H3 doesn't have a right to complain about those said horrible things and talk about it. This can also apply to iDubbbz consistently talking about the stuff that he went through with Anissa, even himself, including himself crying at the end of the content cop to make it all about him and Anissa.
You know, I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neil. I'm like, fuck, like, it's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like, if you come to their defense, if that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
And guess what? They're not getting this other benefit, which is 26,000 viewers. You're getting a lot of money and a lot of content, a lot of things that you care about from these beefs and from this harassment.
Yes, iDubbbz, Ethan is in fact being harassed, and regardless if he is getting viewership and money off of it, it doesn't make the harassment any easier for him and his family to deal with. This is just such an incredibly bizarre and ridiculous point to be making. In the long run, from the pushback people gave to you and Anissa, you got views and money, but you still complain about it.
There are a lot of people that you've just bullied and they have nothing to gain out of it. Frogan isn't making a bag from this. She's not getting content out of this. You're attacking her in relentless ways and endorsing so much worse harassment than what even you send her.
You're not going to sit here and do this whole routine and act like Frogan is some innocent party here who's never done any wrongdoing and doesn't deserve any of the hate and criticism that she is receiving. We're just not going to do that. Now, those are all the main points I wanted to include in this video to do with the content deputy. I'd highly recommend that you go and watch the content deputy for yourself, because of course there is stuff that is not in this video. But I do also want to quickly cover the ending of the content deputy.
Anissa and I are no longer involved in Creator Clash. We're stepping down completely. We hope that the event is a massive success this year. We hope that all of the fighters get what they wanted out of it. I'm sorry that I'm such a fucking nasty person who just wants to roll around in the shit. I'll put the link to Creator Clash down in the description if you want to support them in their mission to get creators to fight and raise money for charity.
iDubbbz is acting like he cares about Creator Clash 3, now he's washed his hands of it entirely and taken a step back, but the damage is already done. It's too late to try and repair anything here. I very, 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 very highly doubt that this event will be a success. But if not, you know, happily prove me wrong.
Also, for all the people who touch grass, I want to remind you to click the like button on this video. Not so it goes in your algorithm or anything, just specifically so that we can add a counter narrative, or I can get an idea of how much astroturfing is out there, because I know that a lot of these fuckers, they love their dislike button extension.
Many popular content creators and less popular content creators like myself have said that this was going to backfire by using a dislike extension that is incredibly inaccurate. This gives people like Hasan and iDubbbz leverage to bash people with this point, which Hasan's already done, and now iDubbbz is using this point.
And I saw that shit and I was like, what the fuck? These are all like fabricated numbers. The like-dislike ratio was like 80-20 on my video, and then they tried to create a narrative of like, no, people actually hate this content cop, guys.
Also, it's 100% absurd to use the inaccurate dislike extension to say the content cop is hated because it leads to iDubbbz and other people doing things like this. It is very clear that this content flop is very much hated online. Just look at the posts around it. The most viral ones are all shitting on this content flop because it isn't good whatsoever. And by using the dislike extension, it's allowed iDubbbz to do something like this.
It's actually so much worse. Like, bitch, like, people were more upset with, like, my wife being on OnlyFans. You're not gonna convince the internet that fucking Ethan Klein isn't being a piece of shit. Like, sorry, guys. It doesn't matter how many dislike extensions you have.
You don't need to use the inaccurate dislike extension to prove that your content cop is hated and people are going against it and the narrative that you forged about Ethan Klein. It's very obvious that people are going against that. You don't need something inaccurate like the dislike extension to tell you. Now, like I said towards the beginning of the video, I do want to quickly go over some points from the Hasan and H3 debate that involve iDubbbz and the content cop. Now, the lot of clips I was going to be showing in this video, or the original video I wanted to be making about them, have kind of become obsolete because of the content deputy. But there is one that I do want to kind of talk about, which is involved with creator clash.
Of Ian's the video's performance. I don't give a fuck. Come on, play the video, dude. Come on, Jesus Christ. Play the fucking clip.
I mean, it is ironic that he came and did this whole show of doing it with you, and it like just completely humiliated him. I think that's kind of funny and interesting, but I'll play the clip.
Not on Leftovers. He's now talking about it on his podcast.
What I want to do is show you.
Are you not? Hold on, I'm sorry. His entire creator clash is in ruin. The event is going to be fucking absolutely canceled. He's probably not even going to be able to reimburse most of the fighters for the time they trained. How is that not a train wreck?
Ethan,
I'm just saying.
I am not iDubbbz. I don't care about your petty vendetta against iDubbbz. Play the
You were in the video.
clip.
Guys, how
Yeah.
I see Israel. Because
You're
you
in
don't
the
see
video.
that. When you listen to Hasan and you hear all these fucking...
Yes, you ruined a charity event. I hope you're proud.
Oh my god, bro. You
I
have
find it incredibly funny that Hasan is saying that H3 is the one that has ruined this charity event, like the odds weren't already stacked against this said charity event. Creator Clash 2 was a critical failure. The content cop, of course, pushed a lot more hate, which was a decision that iDubbbz made. H3 didn't make iDubbbz make a content cop on him. That's just absurd. It's because of the content cop that iDubbbz willingly decided to make against H3 that has put Creator Clash in this position. That's not H3's fault, and to say otherwise just is incredibly funny and pathetic. There is loads to take away from that Hasan and H3 debate, and I highly recommend that you go and watch that, and other people's coverage who know a lot more about politics and the political element, because that is incredibly interesting. Unfortunately, I'm not somebody who is incredibly involved in the political scene and don't feel particularly comfortable covering the political elements at hand there. But just a few closing things. I don't know why iDubbbz has decided to go down this route of a response, justifying this CPS call and saying a bunch of other more ridiculous and heinous things, which can easily be disproven. I mean, you should see what H3 has to say in response to this, because there's a lot of juicy stuff that iDubbbz has said. But everybody watching, like always, please feel free to comment down below your thoughts on all of this. I'm incredibly interested to see what you have to say about this content deputy, because personally, I think it's an utter mess. But while you're down there, you might as well subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a future video. It's incredibly likely that I will be covering the H3 response to this, because why wouldn't I? I've covered the situation up until this point, there'd be no reason not to. But I have been your host Samuel, and I will catch you in the next YouTube video.